The crowbar slipped in her hands. 2 in the morning. A single mother standing in a bookstore everyone called cursed, staring at a wall that shouldn't be hollow. Behind the rotted plywood, leather portfolios, dozens of them, stock certificates, bearer bonds, documents worth maybe $8 million, maybe 10. 3 months ago, Maya Torres had $500 and a choice: rent or hope. She chose hope. Now, she was holding a fortune that could save her daughter's life or destroy everything they had left. But the real secret wasn't the money. It was why a woman she'd never met had left it all to her, and what she'd have to prove to keep it. The crowbar slipped in Maya Torres's sweating hands. It was 2 a.m. The bookstore around her was silent, except for the groan of old wood and her own ragged breathing. Dust hung thick in the beam of her phone's flashlight, turning the air into something you could almost touch. She shouldn't be doing this, not at this hour, not with Lily asleep upstairs. But the collapsed bookshelf had revealed something impossible: a seam in the wall where there shouldn't be one, paint that didn't match, wood that sounded hollow when she knocked. Maya wedged the crowbar deeper and pulled. The plywood gave way with a crack that made her freeze, listening. Above her head, the old floorboards creaked. She held her breath, waited for her daughter's voice, calling down the stairs. Nothing. Just silence and dust and the hammering of her own heart. She pulled away the rotted wood, piece by piece. Her hands shook so badly, she nearly dropped the flashlight. Behind the false wall wasn't decay, wasn't the mold or mice she'd expected. It was neat stacks of leather portfolios, dozens of them, arranged on shelves like they'd been waiting. Maya reached for the first one with trembling fingers. The leather was cold, smooth, perfectly preserved, despite the rot surrounding it. She opened it slowly. Inside, documents, thick paper, official seals, letterheads from companies she recognized. Stock certificates dated from the 1982nd. Bearer bonds with numbers that made her stomach drop. She opened another portfolio, then another. Each one held more. Papers that looked important. Papers that looked valuable. Papers that might be worthless or might be worth. She couldn't let herself think the number. 3 months ago, Maya had stood in a courthouse auction with $500 in her pocket and a choice: rent for another month in the motel where Lily cried herself to sleep, or this bookstore that everyone said was cursed, worthless, a joke. She'd chosen the bookstore, chosen hope over safety, and now she was holding papers that could change everything, or destroy her for even touching them. Upstairs, Lily's soft breathing filtered through the old floorboards, the only sound in the world that mattered. Maya's flashlight beam swept across document after document, each one asking the same impossible question. What do you do when you find treasure you're not sure you deserve? 3 months earlier, Maya Torres had made the worst financial decision of her life. Or so everyone told her. 3 months earlier, Maya Torres stood in the back of a courthouse meeting room that smelled like old coffee and broken dreams. Folding chairs held maybe a dozen people. Most were dealers looking for quick flips. A few were lawyers representing clients who couldn't be bothered to show up. She was the only one who looked desperate. Her hands twisted the strap of her purse. Inside, $500 in cash. Every dollar she'd saved from double shifts at the Sunrise Diner. Money that was supposed to go toward first and last month's rent on an apartment. Any apartment that would take a single mother with bad credit and no references. Lily deserved better than the roadside motel on Route 9. Better than doing homework on a bed that smelled like cigarettes. Better than hearing their neighbors fight through paper-thin walls at 2 a.m. Maya deserved better too, but she'd stopped believing that mattered. Next item, the auctioneer droned. Commercial property at 47 Maple Street. The Willowbrook Book Emporium. Minimum bid $500. Maya's head snapped up. She knew that building, had driven past it 100 times, 2 stories of faded brick and dusty windows, the kind of place that looked like it was waiting for someone to either save it or put it out of its misery. Property sold, as is, the auctioneer continued. No inspections. Building's been vacant 15 years since the owner disappeared. Previous attempts to reopen have all failed. Anyone interested? Silence. Maya thought about her grandmother, how she'd run a tiny library in their hometown, how the smell of old books had been the only safe place in Maya's chaotic childhood, how her grandmother always said stories could save you if you let them. She thought about Lily's face when she'd asked last week, "Mama, will we ever have a real home?" Her hand went up before her brain could stop it. 500, Maya heard herself say. The auctioneer looked surprised. Going once, twice, sold to the lady in the back. Just like that, Maya Torres became the owner of a building everyone said was cursed. The woman beside her leaned over as Maya signed papers with shaking hands. "You know that place has a history, right? The owner, Eleanor something, just vanished one day, left everything exactly as it was. Some say she went crazy, others say worse." Maya forced a smile. "I'm sure it's fine." But that night, lying awake in the motel while Lily slept, Maya wondered what she'd done, wondered if betting everything on hope was the same as betting on nothing at all. She pulled up photos of the bookstore on her phone, zoomed in on the windows. In one photo, just barely visible through the dusty glass, she could see shelves. Hundreds of books still sitting there, waiting, like they'd known someone would come back for them eventually. 3 days later, Maya stood outside 47 Maple Street with the keys in one hand and Lily's small fingers wrapped tight in the other. The building looked worse up close. Paint peeling, weeds growing through cracks in the sidewalk, a faded sign that barely read Book Emporium. "It's scary," Lily whispered. Maya squeezed her daughter's hand. "Want to see inside anyway?" Lily nodded, brave despite the tremor in her voice. The key turned with a grinding sound, the door swung open, and Maya stepped into a world that would change everything. The inside of the bookstore smelled like time itself had settled into the walls. Dust covered everything, the floor, the shelves, even the air seemed thick with decades of stillness. But underneath the neglect, Maya could see what it used to be. The shelves were solid oak, hand-carved with details that hadn't been made in half a century. The windows, grimy as they were, stretched floor to ceiling and would flood the place with light once cleaned. And the books, thousands of them, still sat waiting, like sleeping children. "Mama, look!" Lily pressed her nose against a shelf. "These are all first editions." Maya blinked. Her daughter was right. She pulled one down carefully. To Kill a Mockingbird, first edition, 1960, dust jacket intact. She checked another. The Catcher in the Rye, first edition. Her hands started to shake. These books alone could be worth thousands. Why had Eleanor left them? Why had no one taken them in 15 years? "We'll inventory everything," Maya said, more to herself than Lily. "See what we have." That first week blurred together. Maya scrubbed floors until her knees ached, washed windows until her arms burned, hauled trash bags full of damaged books to the dumpster, each one feeling like a small funeral. Lily helped after school, organizing paperbacks by genre, while Maya tackled the structural issues. A leak in the back corner, broken floorboards near the bathroom, an electrical panel that looked like a fire waiting to happen. At night, they slept upstairs in the cramped apartment Eleanor had lived in. One bedroom for Lily, a living room where Maya laid out a sleeping bag and tried not to think about how thin her savings had become. $347 left in her account. The diner had cut her hours, said business was slow. She'd started selling books just to buy groceries. But every morning, When sunlight finally broke through the clean windows and lit up the shelves, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The second week, she started noticing the strange things. The layout of the store didn't make sense. Shelves jutted out at odd angles, creating alcoves and corners that served no purpose. Some sections felt cramped, while others had too much space. Maya stood in the center one afternoon, turning slowly. If she removed that shelf by the window, the flow would be better. If she pushed the philosophy section back, she could create a reading nook. But when she tried to move the shelves, they wouldn't budge. They were built into the walls, bolted, permanent. Why would someone do that? She muttered. Lily looked up from her homework at the front desk. Maybe they didn't want people to change things. Or maybe, Maya thought, they didn't want people to see what the layout was hiding. She found the first bookmark on a Thursday. It slipped out of a volume of Emily Dickinson, fluttering to the floor like a wounded butterfly. Handmade paper, pressed flowers sealed under a thin layer of wax. Beautiful. And on the back, written in elegant script, "The truth hides where no one thinks to look." Maya turned it over in her hands. The ink was faded, but still legible. The paper felt expensive, archival quality. She found another bookmark the next day, then 3 more by the end of the week. Each one had a different quote. Value isn't always visible to the untrained eye. Some stories can only be read by those willing to see. The greatest treasures are the ones we almost throw away. They felt like messages, like someone had left them on purpose. But for who? The store slowly came back to life around her. Maya repainted the front door a deep green. Hung a new sign, Willowbrook Book Emporium, grand reopening. She couldn't afford much inventory, so she focused on what Eleanor had left behind, organizing, cleaning, pricing fairly. Neighbors started stopping by, curious, skeptical. "You're brave," one woman said, not unkindly. "Or crazy. This place has a history." "What kind of history?" Maya asked. The woman glanced around, lowered her voice. Eleanor Ashford was brilliant. Used to be some kind of financial advisor before she opened this place. Made a fortune, they said. But something happened. She withdrew from everything, became a recluse. Then one day gone. Just like that. Where did she go? Nobody knows. Police investigated but found nothing suspicious. It was like she vanished into thin air. The woman picked up a book, set it down. Some folks think she's buried in the walls. Others say she ran off with money she'd hidden. All I know is every person who's tried to run this place since has quit within months. After she left, Maya stood very still. Some folks think she's buried in the walls. She looked around the store with new eyes, at the strange layout, the permanent shelves, the bookmarks with their cryptic messages. What if Eleanor hadn't just left? What if she'd left something behind? That night, unable to sleep, Maya explored the apartment upstairs more carefully. Most of Eleanor's personal belongings were gone, removed by the estate sale probably. But in the bedroom closet, pushed far into the back, she found a wooden box. Inside, a leather journal, water-stained but readable. Maya opened it with trembling hands. The first page was dated June 1993. Opened the bookstore today, a fresh start, they say. But you can't outrun your past, only redirect it. I'm building something here, something that matters more than money ever did. If anyone ever finds this, know that every choice I made with intention. Maya flipped through the pages. Most were mundane inventory notes, customer interactions, reflections on books Eleanor had read. But certain passages were underlined, circled, as if Eleanor wanted someone to notice them. The foundation is stronger than it appears. I made sure of that. What we hide in plain sight is often the safest. Trust is earned through patience. Whoever comes after me must prove they understand what really matters. The last entry was dated the 15th of October, 2008. If I don't come back, I hope whoever finds this place understands what I've tried to preserve. Some treasures are meant to be discovered by those who need them most. The bookstore will know. It always knows. Maya closed the journal, her heart pounding. What did that mean, the bookstore will know? She walked back downstairs, journal in hand, and stood in the dark store. Moonlight filtered through the windows, casting long shadows across the maze of shelves. For the first time, she didn't see a failing business or a desperate gamble. She saw a puzzle, and Eleanor had left the pieces for someone to find. Maya moved through the aisles slowly, running her hands along the shelves. Solid, well built. But why this layout? Why these angles? She stopped at the back corner, where the children's section met the storage room. The shelf here was deeper than the others. She knocked on the back panel. Hollow. Her breath caught. She knocked again, moving along the wall. Solid, solid, hollow, solid. There was a space behind this wall, a space that shouldn't exist based on the building's exterior dimensions. Maya pressed her ear against the wood, as if she could hear secrets whispering on the other side. Tomorrow she'd investigate. Tomorrow, when Lily was at school and she had time to think clearly. But that night, lying in her sleeping bag, Maya couldn't stop wondering. What had Eleanor hidden? And why did it feel like the bookstore had been waiting 15 years for Maya specifically to find it? Outside, wind rattled the old windows. The building settled with creaks and groans. And somewhere in the walls, Maya could have sworn she heard something shift. Like the house itself was waking up. Maya waited until Lily left for school before she went back to the hollow wall. Her hands were steadier this morning, or maybe she was just better at pretending. She'd spent half the night reading Eleanor's journal cover to cover. Most entries were ordinary notes about customers, thoughts on books, observations about the changing seasons. But scattered throughout were passages that felt like breadcrumbs. Built the new shelving today. Contractor asked why I wanted them permanent. Told him I liked commitment. Mrs. Patterson stopped by. Asked again about my previous life. Told her some chapters are better left unread. The beauty of books is that they keep secrets perfectly, unlike people. Maya knelt beside the children's section shelf and pressed her palm against the back panel. The hollow sound echoed softly. She'd brought tools this time. A flashlight, a utility knife, work gloves. Her phone buzzed. Text from the diner. Sorry, Maya. Have to let you go. Business just isn't there anymore. She stared at the screen. Just like that, her last income was gone. $347 in the bank. No job. A building that ate money like fire ate oxygen. Her hands clenched into fists. Then she looked around at the bookstore. At the shelves she'd cleaned, the windows she'd washed until they sparkled, the sign she'd painted. She'd already bet everything. Might as well see the hand through. Maya slid the utility knife along the edge of the panel, feeling for a seam. The wood was old, but precisely fitted. Eleanor had known what she was doing. The panel finally gave way with a soft crack. Behind it, darkness, and a smell not decay, but something else. Metal, oil, preservation. Maya clicked on her flashlight. The beam revealed a narrow space, maybe 3 feet deep, custom-built between the interior and exterior walls, and inside, mounted on brackets like precious artifacts, leather portfolios. Dozens of them, each one labelled with years spanning from 1975 to 2008. Maya's breath caught. She reached for the nearest one, 1998, and pulled it out carefully. The leather was soft, expensive, perfectly maintained despite the decades. Inside, documents, official-looking papers with corporate seals and signatures, stock certificates from companies she recognized, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, from before anyone knew what Amazon would become. All in Eleanor's name, or names. The certificates showed variations: E. Ashford, Eleanor Morrison, Elizabeth Anders. Maya's hands started shaking again. She grabbed another portfolio, 21,985. More stocks. Bearer bonds, the kind she'd read about in crime novels. Anonymous, untraceable, worth their face value to whoever held them. Each portfolio was organized by year, everything documented with meticulous care. Eleanor hadn't just hidden these, she'd curated them like a museum collection. Maya sat back on her heels, mind racing. Eleanor had been a financial advisor, had made a fortune, according to the neighbor. But why hide it? Why leave it sealed in a wall for 15 years? Unless she was protecting it. Or protecting herself. Maya was still sitting there, surrounded by portfolios, when she heard the front door chime. She scrambled to her feet, heart hammering, shoved the portfolio back into the space and pressed the panel closed. It didn't quite fit anymore, but from a distance it looked intact. "Hello?" A woman's voice, professional, cold. Maya wiped dust off her jeans and walked to the front of the store. The woman standing by the entrance looked like money. Tailored suit, perfect hair, smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Can I help you?" Maya asked. "I hope so. My name is Victoria Sterling." She extended a business card. "I represent certain parties interested in properties with historical significance." Maya took the card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. No specific company name, just Victoria Sterling, Acquisitions. "I'm not selling," Maya said. Victoria's smile widened. "You haven't heard my offer yet." "Doesn't matter. I just bought this place. I'm not selling." "Of course." Victoria walked deeper into the store, running her finger along a shelf. "It's just that this building has quite a history. The previous owner, Eleanor Ashford, was an interesting woman. You've heard about her, I assume." Maya's spine stiffened. "She disappeared. That's all I know. She was more than that. She was brilliant. Made millions in the market back in the 80s. Victoria turned, eyes sharp, and then she vanished, left everything. Some people have always wondered where all that money went. The air felt thinner suddenly. "If you're suggesting it's here." "I'm not suggesting anything." Victoria's voice was smooth as silk. "I'm simply offering to take this burden off your hands. The building clearly needs work. You're a single mother, correct? Working at a diner, or you were until this morning." Maya's blood went cold. "How do you know that?" "I make it my business to know things." Victoria pulled out a checkbook. "I can offer you 25,000. Cash, today. You walk away, start fresh, somewhere easier. $25,000. More money than Maya had seen in years. Enough to rent an apartment. Enroll Lily in a good school. Buy a reliable car. Stop drowning." But something in Victoria's eyes made Maya's skin crawl. "Why?" Maya asked. "Why would you pay that much for a failing bookstore? Let's call it an investment in historical preservation. Or, you know something I don't." Victoria's smile vanished. "Miss Torres, I'm trying to help you. This building has a reputation. A curse, some say. Every owner since Eleanor has failed. You'll fail too. Better to accept that now and leave with something rather than nothing." Maya crossed her arms. "The answer is no." For just a moment, something dark flickered across Victoria's face. Then the professional mask was back. "Think about it. My number's on the card, but don't think too long. Opportunities have expiration dates." After she left, Maya stood very still. Victoria Sterling knew about the diner firing her, which meant she'd been watching, waiting. For what? Maya walked back to the hidden space and pulled out more portfolios. Her hands moved faster now, urgency replacing caution. 1,982. More bearer bonds. 1,991. Real estate deeds. 1,992. $1,997. Stock certificates that would be worth, she couldn't even calculate it. Each portfolio represented a different year of Eleanor's careful accumulation. A fortune built piece by piece and hidden so well that no one had found it in 15 years. No one, except Maya. At the very back of the space, she found something else. A small metal box, locked, and taped to the top an envelope with her name on it. Not to the owner. Not to whom it may concern. Maya Torres, in Eleanor's elegant script. Maya's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, a single card with 3 words. You found it. And beneath that, now prove you deserve it. That night, after Lily was asleep, Maya sat at the old desk in the back office with Eleanor's journal and the card in front of her. She'd researched bearer bonds on her phone. Some were still valid, still redeemable, still worth their face value plus decades of interest. The stock certificates were harder. Some companies had split, merged, gone public in ways that made the original shares worth exponentially more. She'd found a calculator online, tried to estimate. Conservative guess? 5 million. More likely? 8 to 10. Maybe more. Her phone screen blurred. Maya realized she was crying. This couldn't be real. People like her didn't find hidden fortunes. People like her worked themselves to exhaustion and still came up short. But the documents were real. The portfolios were real. And Eleanor's message was real. Prove you deserve it. What did that mean? Maya flipped through the journal again, looking for answers. She found a passage dated 1993, 6 months after Eleanor had opened the bookstore. Mrs. Chen came in today with her grandson. She apologized for not being able to buy anything fixed income, she said. I gave her 3 books and told her they were overstock, she cried. Made me realize something. Money is just a tool. What you build with it is what matters. I spent 20 years accumulating wealth. Maybe I should spend the next 20 giving it purpose. Another entry, 2005. Thought about what would happen if I died suddenly. All this money hidden away, doing nothing. That's not a legacy. That's cowardice. I need to find someone who understands that wealth without purpose is just paper. Someone who would use it the way I should have. Maya's throat tightened. Eleanor hadn't just hidden money. She'd created a test. The bookstore was the first part. Only someone who valued books more than profit would reopen it, would put in the work, would see past the curse and the failure rate. And the hidden fortune was the second part. A question. What would you do with more money than you'd ever dreamed of? Maya looked around the office, at the boxes of books she still needed to process, at the stack of bills on the desk, at the sleeping bag where she'd been sleeping for weeks because she couldn't afford real furniture. She thought about Lily, about giving her daughter everything she'd never had. She thought about Victoria Sterling's cold eyes and knowing smile. And she thought about Eleanor's final journal entry, the one that had haunted her since she'd first read it. If I don't come back, I hope whoever finds this place understands what I've tried to preserve. Some treasures are meant to be discovered by those who need them most. Those who need them most, not those who want them, not those who hunt for them. Those who need them. Maya had needed this bookstore, had needed hope, had needed to prove she could build something good for her daughter. But did she need $10 million? Or did she need to prove she was the person Eleanor had believed would find it? Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Offer expires in 48 hours. Think carefully. VS. Maya stared at the message. Then she looked at the card from Eleanor. Prove you deserve it. The bookstore creaked around her, settling into the night, and Maya had the strangest feeling that Eleanor was watching, waiting to see what she would choose. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat at the desk with Eleanor's journal, the card that said, "Prove you deserve it," and her phone calculator showing impossible numbers. $8 million, maybe $10 million, maybe more. Life-changing money. Lily could go to any college money. Never worry about rent again money. But Eleanor's words kept circling her mind like vultures. Wealth without purpose is just paper. What was Maya's purpose? Survival? Was that enough? By dawn, she'd made a decision. She'd consult a lawyer, someone who specialized in estates and hidden assets, someone who could tell her what was legal, what was right, what was possible. She found one through an online search, Marcus Webb, probate attorney, free consultation. His office was in a strip mall 30 minutes away. Grey carpet, fake plants, the smell of old coffee. Maya sat across from him and laid out the situation, carefully, without revealing too much. Hypothetically, she said, if someone bought a property at auction and found valuable items hidden inside, who owns them? Marcus leaned back in his chair. Depends. Was the property sold as is? Yes. And the items were concealed, not listed in the estate inventory? Yes. He tapped his pen against the desk. Then, legally, it's murky. If the previous owner never declared the items, never included them in any will or estate filing, they exist in a legal grey zone. So I could keep them? Case. You could try, but if anyone contested heirs, creditors, even the state, you'd be in court for years. Legal fees would eat whatever you found. He studied her face. Miss Torres, are we still speaking hypothetically? Maya's hands tightened in her lap. What if the previous owner left a note saying they wanted the items found by whoever reopened the business? A note isn't a legal document, not without witnesses, notarization, clear intent. He leaned forward. Whatever you found, my advice is this. Be very careful. Hidden fortunes attract dangerous attention. Maya left feeling worse than when she'd arrived. The money was real. But claiming it could destroy her, she was unlocking the bookstore when a car pulled up, not Victoria Sterling's sleek sedan. A pickup truck, weathered and paint-faded. An elderly man climbed out slowly, using a cane. Asian, maybe 75, with kind eyes and a careful smile. Miss Torres? He called. Maya tensed. Yes? My name is Henry Chen. I used to be a customer here, back when Eleanor ran the place. He approached slowly, non-threatening. Heard someone finally reopened it. Thought I'd come by. Maya relaxed slightly. Come in. I'm still organizing, but you're welcome to look around. Inside, Mr. Chen moved through the aisles like he was visiting an old friend. His fingers traced the spines of books with obvious affection. Eleanor was remarkable, he said quietly. Brilliant mind, kind heart, but troubled. Troubled how? No. He turned to face her. She made a fortune on Wall Street in the 80s, had a gift for seeing what others couldn't. But her partners, they weren't good people. When she tried to leave, they tried to destroy her, accused her of fraud, theft, things she never did. Maya's breath caught. What happened? She fought them for years. Eventually, she won, proved her innocence. But it cost her everything, her reputation, her trust in people, her peace. He picked up a book, set it down. She came here to disappear, to find something real again. And the bookstore was that. She hoped it would be, but I think she was still running, still hiding. His eyes met Maya's, sharp despite his age. If you found something here, Miss Torres, be very careful who you trust. After he left, Maya felt the weight of his words settle on her shoulders. Eleanor hadn't just hidden money, she'd hidden from people who'd tried to destroy her. People who might still be looking. People like Victoria Sterling. The 48-hour deadline arrived like a storm. Maya stood in the bookstore at 4:47 p.m., phone in hand, Victoria's business card on the counter. She'd sold off more first editions to buy groceries. $237 left in her account. Lily needed new shoes, The electricity bill was overdue. One phone call. $25,000. Enough to survive another year while she figured everything out. But the hidden portfolios would go with the building. Eleanor's fortune, Eleanor's test. Maya's finger hovered over the call button. What would Eleanor want me to do? But that was the wrong question, wasn't it? Eleanor was dead. Gone. Whatever she'd wanted didn't matter anymore. What mattered was Lily. What mattered was survival. Maya started to dial. The front door chimed. Lily walked in from school, backpack dragging. "Mama, can we have spaghetti tonight?" Tony's mum always makes it, and it smells so good. Maya's throat tightened. "Sure, baby, we can do spaghetti." Lily dropped her backpack and ran to the children's section, her favourite spot. Started pulling books off the shelf, organising them by colour like she always did. Maya watched her daughter, 9 years old, still believing her mother could fix anything. She put the phone down. Not today. Not yet. That night, desperate for answers, Maya went through Eleanor's journal one more time. She'd read it cover to cover twice, but maybe she'd missed something, some clue about what Eleanor really wanted. She found it on a page she'd skimmed before, a passage dated 2007, a year before Eleanor disappeared. Set everything up with Patterson today. The trust, the foundation structure, the legal framework. She thinks I'm being paranoid, but I know how these things work. If I die, if I disappear, the money needs to go to the right person, someone who'll use it the way I should have. Maya's heart stopped. Patterson. She grabbed her laptop, fingers flying across the keys, searched for attorneys named Patterson in the area. Found one, Patterson and Associates. Estate planning and trust management. Portland office. The phone number was listed. Maya stared at it for a long moment. Then she dialed before she could lose her nerve. Patterson and Associates. Professional, crisp. "Hi, my name is Maya Torres. I'm calling about Eleanor Ashford's estate." Silence. Then, "Please hold." 2 minutes later, a woman's voice came on. Older, cautious. "This is Margaret Patterson. You said Eleanor Ashford." "Yes. I bought her bookstore, and I found—" Maya paused. "I found something." "I found something. What did you find?" "Documents, stock certificates, bonds, and a card with my name on it." Another silence, longer this time. "Miss Torres, I need you to come to my office. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Bring the card and any documents that have Eleanor's signature." The woman's voice shook slightly. "We've been waiting 15 years for this call." Maya barely slept. She left Lily with Mr. Chen, who'd offered to watch her, saying cryptically, "Eleanor would want me to help," and drove to Portland. The law office was elegant, old money, real wood panelling and leather furniture. Margaret Patterson was in her 70s, silver hair perfectly styled, eyes that had seen everything. She looked at Maya like she was seeing a ghost. "You look like her," Margaret said quietly, "not physically, but the way you hold yourself." That determination mixed with fear. Maya laid the card and sample documents on the desk. Margaret picked up the card. "Read Eleanor's message." Tears welled in her eyes. "She did it," Margaret whispered. "She actually found someone." "Found someone for what?" Margaret pulled out a thick file from her desk. "Eleanor Ashford came to me in 2007. She wanted to create a trust, a foundation, actually. She'd liquidated her entire fortune, converted everything to bearer bonds and stock certificates, hid them in the bookstore." Maya's legs felt weak. Why? Because she was dying. Cancer. 6 months, maybe a year, and she wanted her money to matter. Margaret opened the file. She created a legal structure, a charitable foundation with specific requirements. The fortune would go to whoever reopened the bookstore and kept it running for at least 6 months. 6 months, Maya breathed. That's 3 months from now, if you've made it this far, Margaret smiled. Eleanor believed only the right person would push through the curse rumours, the financial hardship, the failure rate. Only someone who valued the bookstore itself would survive long enough to find what she'd hidden. Maya's mind raced. So the money belongs to the foundation, which you would manage as director. There's a salary attached, modest but livable. The rest funds the bookstore's mission: free books, literacy programs, community support. It was perfect. Everything Eleanor had wanted, everything the journal entries had pointed toward. Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. I can't believe she... There's just one problem, Margaret interrupted. Maya's stomach dropped. What problem? Eleanor named you as the designated trustee, specifically Maya Torres. Margaret's expression grew troubled. But she died in 2008. You would have been. What? 23? How did she know your name? The room seemed to tilt. Maya's voice came out barely above a whisper. I don't know. Margaret pulled out another document. There's more. The trust documents were filed and sealed. But 3 years ago, someone tried to contest them. A man named Richard Sterling, Victoria Sterling's father. He claimed he was Eleanor's business partner, that the money was partially his. And? We blocked the challenge, but the Sterlings have been watching ever since, waiting for someone to claim the trust so they could challenge again with a real opponent. Margaret's eyes were grave. If you activate this foundation, they'll come after you. With lawyers, money, everything. Maya felt the floor disappearing beneath her feet. This wasn't a gift. It was a trap. Eleanor had left her a fortune she couldn't claim without a war, had somehow known her name years before they'd ever met, had created a test that felt less like generosity and more like manipulation. I need to think, Maya said, standing on shaking legs. You have 3 months, Margaret said. After that, the trust dissolves, the money goes to the state, Eleanor's dream dies. Maya drove home in a daze. She'd thought she'd found the answer, thought she understood Eleanor's test, but nothing made sense. How had Eleanor known her name? Why choose her specifically? And how could Maya fight people like the Sterlings when she could barely afford groceries? She pulled into the bookstore's parking lot and sat there, staring at the building. Prove you deserve it. But deserve what? A fortune she couldn't safely claim? A fight she couldn't win? Maya walked inside slowly. The bookstore felt different now, less like hope and more like a beautiful cage. She walked to the back office, planning to look through Eleanor's journal again. Search for answers about how Eleanor had known her name. That's when she saw it. The shelf that had collapsed in the cold open, the one that revealed the hidden space, was still damaged from the storm that hadn't happened yet in this timeline. But there, partially visible through a crack in the wall, was something she'd missed before. Not another portfolio. A photograph. Maya's hands shook as she pulled it free. It showed Eleanor, much younger, maybe 30, standing beside a woman who was holding a baby. Maya stared at the woman's face and felt the world stop. Because she was looking at her grandmother, the grandmother who'd run a small library, who'd raised Maya after her parents died, who'd never mentioned knowing anyone named Eleanor Ashford. On the back of the photo, in Eleanor's handwriting, Sarah and baby Maya, 1986. Some debts can only be repaid across lifetimes. Maya's knees buckled. She sank to the floor, photograph clutched in shaking hands. Eleanor hadn't randomly chosen her. Eleanor had known her grandmother, had known Maya as a baby. This wasn't a test. It was a promise kept. Maya sat on the floor of the back office, staring at the photograph until her vision blurred. Her grandmother, Eleanor, baby Maya. Some debts can only be repaid across lifetimes. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and called the one person who might have answers. Mr. Chen picked up on the second ring. "I found a photograph," Maya said without preamble. "Eleanor and my grandmother, from 1986. You knew her, Eleanor, I mean. Did you know my grandmother too?" Silence. Then a long exhale. "I wondered when you'd find that," Mr. Chen said quietly. "Yes, I knew Sarah. She saved Eleanor's life." Maya's breath caught. "What? Can you meet me? This isn't a story for the phone." They met at a small diner on the edge of town. Mr. Chen ordered coffee he didn't drink and told Maya a story that rewrote everything she thought she knew. In 1986, Eleanor was at the height of her career, he began, making millions on Wall Street. But her partner, Richard Sterling, Victoria's father, was stealing from clients, covering it up with Eleanor's accounts. Maya leaned forward. He framed her. Tried to. When Eleanor discovered what he was doing, she gathered evidence. But before she could go to the authorities, Richard tried to kill her. "Mr. Chen's hands trembled around his cup. "Staged a car accident. Eleanor survived, but barely. She was in the hospital for weeks, terrified, alone. No one believed her. Except my grandmother. Sarah was a paralegal at the firm handling Eleanor's case. She saw the evidence, believed Eleanor when no one else would." "Mr. Chen's eyes grew distant. She risked her career to help Eleanor prove the truth. Spent months gathering documents, testimony, building a case that couldn't be ignored." Maya's throat tightened. "And Eleanor won. Richard Sterling went to prison for fraud and attempted murder. But the scandal destroyed Eleanor's reputation anyway. She was acquitted, but Wall Street has a long memory. No one would work with her. So she disappeared. She liquidated everything, moved here, started over." Mr. Chen finally met Maya's eyes, but she never forgot what Sarah did, how Sarah believed her, fought for her, saved her life. Maya's voice came out barely above a whisper. "My grandmother never told me any of this. Sarah was like that, quiet, humble. She didn't think she'd done anything special." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "Eleanor wrote this. Asked me to give it to you if you ever made it this far." Maya's hands shook as she opened it. Inside, Eleanor's handwriting, familiar now, like a friend's voice. "Dear Maya, if you're reading this, you've found the photograph, and Henry has told you about your grandmother. Sarah Torres saved my life twice. Once in 1986, when she believed me and fought for me, and once in 1993, when she reminded me why life was worth living. After I moved here and opened the bookstore, I was drowning, PTSD, the doctors called it. I couldn't sleep, couldn't trust anyone, couldn't see a future. Sarah found me, drove 3 hours just to check on me, brought her granddaughter, you, though you were too young to remember. You were 7, obsessed with books. You sat in the children's section for hours, completely content. Sarah told me something that day I've never forgotten. The people who hurt you want you to stop living. Don't give them that victory. Build something they can't touch." So I did. I built this bookstore. I built a life, and I built a plan. When Sarah died in 2004, I went to her funeral. You were there 19, pregnant, alone. Your ex-husband had just left. You looked exactly like Sarah did when she fought for me. Terrified, but determined. I watched you over the years. Not creepily, I hope. Just checking in. Making sure you were okay. You worked so hard. Loved your daughter so fiercely. Never gave up, even when giving up would have been easier. You reminded me of Sarah, and of myself. When I was diagnosed with cancer in 2007, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't repay Sarah, she was gone, but I could repay her legacy. I could give you what she gave me, a chance, a fight, a future. The bookstore was my test, Maya, but not for you. For me. Could I trust again? Could I believe someone would value what I'd built for the right reasons? You proved I could. The foundation is yours. The money is yours. Use it to build something the Sterlings can't touch, something that matters. Don't let the people who hurt you win. Give your daughter the life Sarah wanted for you. With gratitude and hope, Eleanor. Maya read the letter 3 times. Tears streamed down her face, dripping onto the paper. Her grandmother had saved Eleanor's life. Eleanor had watched over Maya for years, had seen her struggles, her strength, had believed in her before Maya even knew to believe in herself. This wasn't a test. It was an inheritance. Not of money, though that was part of it, but of faith, of hope, of the belief that goodness could be passed down like genes. She wanted you to know, Mr. Chen said softly, that you didn't find the bookstore by accident. She made sure it would be available when you needed it most. Made sure you'd be able to afford it. Made sure you'd have a chance. Maya looked up, eyes wide. The auction, the $500 minimum bid. Eleanor set that price 15 years ago. She knew what you'd be able to afford when the time came. Mr. Chen smiled sadly. She studied you, Maya, knew your situation, knew you'd need exactly what she was offering. But what if I'd failed? What if I'd given up? Then the trust would have dissolved. The money would have gone to the state. Eleanor would have been wrong about you. He reached across the table and squeezed her hand. But she wasn't wrong. She never doubted you'd make it. Maya thought about the bookmarks, the journal entries, the hidden room that only revealed itself after weeks of hard work. Eleanor hadn't just left her money. She'd left her a journey, a test of character that proved Maya was exactly who Eleanor believed she was. Someone who valued stories more than profit. Someone who fought for what mattered. Someone worthy of Sarah Torres's legacy. Maya drove back to the bookstore in a daze. She parked and sat there, staring at the building. 3 months ago, it had been a curse, a joke, a desperate gamble. Now it was a gift from a woman she'd never met, but who'd loved her from a distance. Who'd believed in her when she'd stopped believing in herself. Inside, Lily was reading in the children's section, surrounded by books. She looked up when Maya entered, smile bright as sunlight. Mama, I organized the whole fairy tale section. Want to see? Maya crossed the room and pulled her daughter into a fierce hug. I love you so much, she whispered into Lily's hair. I love you too. Are you okay? Yeah, baby, I'm okay. Maya pulled back, wiping her eyes. Better than okay. She looked around the bookstore. At the shelves her grandmother's friend had built. At the books that had waited patiently. At the hidden fortune that was never about money. It was about legacy. About women saving each other across decades. About believing someone could be better than their circumstances suggested. Maya pulled out her phone and texted Margaret Patterson. I'm ready. Let's activate the foundation. 3 dots appeared. Then, I'll start the paperwork. Welcome home, Maya. And for the first time since buying this place, Maya understood what home really meant. Not walls or roofs or property lines, but the knowledge that someone had believed in you, had fought for you, had left you a path forward when you couldn't see one yourself. Eleanor Ashford had given her more than $10 million. She'd given her proof that she mattered, that her grandmother's love hadn't died with her. That goodness could echo across lifetimes, rippling forward until it found the people who needed it most. Outside, the sun was setting. Golden light poured through the clean windows, illuminating dust motes that danced like small miracles. Maya stood in that light and felt, for the first time in years, like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Not lucky, not saved, but chosen. By a woman who'd understood that the greatest wealth isn't what you keep. It's what you give to those who'll use it to build something beautiful. The storm came 3 weeks later. Not metaphorical, real, wind and rain that hammered the old building like it was testing whether Maya's repairs would hold. She and Lily huddled in the upstairs apartment, listening to branches scrape against windows and something heavy crash in the store below. "Is the bookstore going to be okay?" Lily asked, pressed against Maya's side. "It survived worse," Maya said, and meant it. When morning came, they went downstairs to assess the damage. Water had leaked through a corner of the roof Maya hadn't gotten to yet. And the old bookshelf in the back, the one with the hollow panel, had finally given up, collapsing in a heap of splintered wood and scattered books. But the hidden space behind it was fully visible now. Empty of portfolios, Maya had moved everything to Margaret Patterson's office vault weeks ago. What remained was just the skeleton of Eleanor's secret, the bones of a plan 15 years in the making. Lily picked up one of the fallen books. Charlotte's Web, water-damaged but salvageable. "Some pig," she read from the cover, then looked up at Maya. "That's what Wilbur's friends called him, right? Because they saw he was special even when he didn't?" Maya's throat tightened. "Yeah, baby, that's exactly right." The foundation paperwork was finalized on a Tuesday. Maya sat in Margaret Patterson's office, signing document after document. Each signature felt like a promise. The Eleanor Ashford Memorial Foundation, Director, Maya Torres. Annual salary, $45,000. Mission, provide free books and literacy programs to underserved communities. The Sterlings sent a letter, Margaret said, sliding it across the desk, threatening to contest. Maya picked it up. Read Victoria Sterling's cold professional language. All the ways they'd challenge the trust, tie it up in courts, make Maya's life miserable. She set it down calmly. "Let them try," Maya said. "Eleanor believed I could handle this. So did my grandmother. I'm not backing down." Margaret smiled. "Good, because I've been waiting 15 years to fight these people properly. Let's show them what ruthless kindness really means." The bookstore reopened 6 weeks after Maya had first discovered the hidden fortune. But it wasn't a bookstore anymore. Not really. The sign outside now read, "Willowbrook Community Library, free and open to all." No price tags, no cash register, just books and space and welcome. Maya had used some of the foundation money to finish repairs, expand the children's section, and create a community room in the back. The rest funded a small endowment that would keep the place running forever. Opening day brought more people than Maya expected. Families who couldn't afford books. Elderly residents who'd been priced out of entertainment. Kids who just needed somewhere safe after school. Mr. Chen came with a donation of 50 boxes of books from his personal collection. "Eleanor would have loved this," he said, eyes bright. "Sarah too." Maya had hung 2 portraits in the main room. One of Eleanor, one of her grandmother, Sarah, from an old photo Maya had found in her childhood things. Together, they watched over the space, 2 women who'd believed in fighting for what mattered. Victoria Sterling showed up on the 3rd day. She stood in the doorway, surveying the transformed space with cold calculation. "Giving it all away," she said. "How noble." Maya looked up from helping a little girl find a book about horses. "Is there something you need?" "Just wanted to see what you've done with stolen property." "It's not stolen, it's inherited. There's a difference." Victoria's smile was sharp. "We'll see what the courts say. They'll say the same thing they said 15 years ago when your father tried to steal from Eleanor." Maya's voice was steady. "That he lost, that he always loses. That some people build things and some people just take." For the first time, Victoria's mask cracked. Anger flashed across her face. "This isn't over." "It is for me," Maya said. "You can spend years fighting in courts if you want. We'll be here doing the work Eleanor wanted done." After Victoria left, the little girl tugged Maya's sleeve. "Who was that scary lady?" "That's Kay. Someone who forgot that stories aren't about money," Maya said. They're about what we give to each other. That night, after Lily was asleep, Maya sat in the store alone. The building creaked and settled around her. Familiar sounds now, home sounds. She pulled out Eleanor's letter, the one Mr. Chen had given her. Read it again by lamplight. Don't let the people who hurt you win. Build something they can't touch. Maya had built it. Not just with Eleanor's money, but with her own hands, her own hope, her own refusal to give up. She thought about her grandmother, about Eleanor, about the invisible thread connecting 3 generations of women who'd refused to let darkness win. Her phone buzzed. Text from Margaret. Sterling's lawyer called. They're dropping the suit. Said it wasn't worth the PR nightmare of fighting a free library. You won. Maya read it twice. Then set the phone down. She'd won. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like continuation. Like Eleanor and Sarah were still here, still fighting through her, still proving that goodness could be inherited, like genes. Maya walked to the window, looked out at the dark street. The town that had called this place cursed. Now, they called it a miracle. But Maya knew better. It wasn't a miracle, it was a choice. Eleanor had chosen to believe in redemption. Sarah had chosen to fight for justice. Maya had chosen to honor their legacy. And Lily, sleeping upstairs in a real bedroom, in a real home, would grow up knowing that women in her family built things that mattered. That they didn't run from fights. That they turned cruel jokes into beautiful truths. Maya pressed her hand against the window. Cold glass, solid, real. Thank you, she whispered. To Eleanor, to her grandmother, to the universe that had somehow conspired to put her exactly where she needed to be. The building creaked in response, and Maya could have sworn she heard 2 voices answer back. You're welcome. Now, keep going. So she would. 2 years later, Maya stood in the Willowbrook Community Library on a Saturday morning, watching the space pulse with life. Children sprawled on beanbags in the reading corner. Teenagers worked on homework at the long tables Maya had built from reclaimed wood. An elderly man browsed the mystery section while his wife attended the watercolor class in the community room. This was what Eleanor had dreamed of, what Sarah had fought for. A place where stories lived and breathed and saved people. Lily, now 11, helped a younger girl sound out words from a picture book, patient, kind. Already becoming the woman Maya had always hoped she'd be. Miss Torres, a young mother approached, baby on her hip. I just wanted to say thank you. I've been coming here for 6 months. My daughter learned to read here. And she paused, eyes bright. I remembered I used to love reading, before everything got hard. Maya squeezed her hand. That's what this place is for. Come as often as you need. After the woman left, Maya walked to the back office, the same one where she'd discovered Eleanor's journal. Where she'd found the photograph that changed everything. The hidden compartment was sealed now, just a wall. But Maya knew what it had held. Not just money, but proof that someone had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. She pulled out her phone and opened the photo she'd taken that first night, the one from section 1. Her hands holding those leather portfolios by flashlight, trembling with disbelief and hope. She barely recognized that version of herself, so desperate, so afraid. Now she was neither. She was exactly what Eleanor had bet on, what her grandmother had raised her to be. Someone who built things that mattered. Maya's phone buzzed. Text from Margaret Patterson. 3 more towns want to replicate the model. Eleanor's legacy is spreading. She'd be so proud. Maya smiled, typed back. So would Grandma Sarah. She walked back into the main room and stood beneath the portraits of Eleanor and her grandmother, 2 women who'd saved each other, who'd saved her. Thank you, she whispered. For the fortune, yes, but more for the reminder that wealth without purpose was just paper. that the greatest inheritance wasn't money. It was the belief that we could be better than our circumstances, that we could choose kindness even when the world chose cruelty, that we could build legacies that outlasted us. Outside, autumn leaves danced past the windows. Inside, someone turned a page, and the bookstore, no, the library breathed like a living thing, still waiting, still welcoming, still proving that sometimes the things people call worthless hold the most value of all. Maya had bought a $500 bookstore thinking she was gambling on survival. Instead, she'd inherited a fortune, a mission, and proof that love could echo across generations. She'd learned that treasures aren't always what they seem, that the biggest secrets are sometimes about who believed in us when we couldn't see our own worth, and that the best way to honor the past is to build a future others can inherit. What would you have done if you found a hidden fortune with a legacy attached? Would you keep it, sell it, or honor the dream someone left behind? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story touched you, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have another incredible tale of ordinary people discovering they were meant for extraordinary things. Until then, remember, sometimes the most valuable inheritance isn't what's hidden in the walls. It's what's built in the hearts of those who come after.